Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Demands for freedom echoing across Cuba, from one end of the island nation to the other. Though mostly peaceful, there were clashes with police and Cuban special forces, the calls for change resonating a little more than 90 miles away. Streets were shut down in South Florida as the Cuban exile community showed their support for the protesters in their homeland. Tonight, the streets are calmer in Cuba amid an increased police presence. In an address to the nation, Cuba's leader blamed U.S. policies like the embargo for the current state of affairs and said a social media campaign was fueling the protest.
No, are you serious? You mean having nothing? No freedoms? No money? No vehicles from, I don't know, the 80s? 1980s? Having no food? Having no chance to have any kind of real opportunity to grow in any way, shape, or form? You mean having virtually nothing doesn't make you happy? What?
There have been a lot of scarcities in Cuba, very long lines, much longer than normal. People waiting for hours to buy specific things like chicken or detergent or soap.
No, it's not possible. Everything's beautiful. It's great. It's all our fault. Everything's our fault. Like, let me tell you how this is going to play out for some on the left. And I've seen it, by the way, on social media. Viva la revolution, except, of course, if it's one that goes against that revolution. But no. What do you mean this isn't fun? What do you mean starving isn't fun? What do you mean not having the basic necessities isn't fun? I thought it would be great.
It's a relatively new phenomenon in Cuba. It's only been in recent years that there has been internet on cell phones, but that seems to have been cut.
Oh, because people are going, hold on a second. You guys have lied to us for how long? These people have everything they've ever wanted. Hell, the poor people in this country right over there, we could see them. We could see them. They're fat. The poor people over here are fat. They got everything they want. Their government's putting money in their bank accounts. They've got stuff that we've only dreamed of. You guys have lied to us. Shocker. See, there's always been some dissent in Cuba, right? Because some people knew of the good times. Older people knew of the good times. They've got family members that they still talk to that are here, in particular in places like Florida. So they understand that it's not like North Korea, right? It's not like North Korea where it's a cult and these people, most of them have no idea really what's going on because they're too poor to care at that point in time. They're just trying to they're just trying to literally survive the day. These people have enough strength to survive the day, but they're hungry all the time. They have enough strength to become educated, but they've got no use for the education because there's nothing for them. These people, well, they're the shining example of why socialism, a.k.a. Marxism, eventually, communism, just doesn't work. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't work at all. Biden, President of the United States of America, he got up and flittered around and said something, mumbling and jumbling.
The Cuban people demanding their freedom from an authoritarian regime. And I don't think we've seen anything like this protest in a long, long time, if quite frankly ever. The United States stands firmly with the people of Cuba as they assert their universal rights. And we call on the government of Cuba to refrain from violence, their attempts to silence the voice of the people of Cuba.
Yeah. So who's the leader of Cuba? His name is Miguel Diaz-Canel, who doesn't look like he's missed any meals, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of this. He's a staunch communist. He's the head of the state. Took over for Raul, who took over for Fidel. And this guy is, you're going to test the new guy, right? Like the new guy. The new guy. You got to test him, got to push. See what this guy's all about, right? Because Raul just quit. He was just done earlier this year in April. Finally just stepped away, retired from the office for good. He was the first secretary of the Congress in Cuba, in the Communist Party, Congress of the Communist Party, and he finally retired. That was the last of the things that the Castros had their hands in. So now what? Nothing. People are too hungry to fight. Marco Rubio lays it all out here, but I'm telling you guys right now, it just doesn't work. It's misery. When I hear people say capitalism sucks, I should show me the other parts of the world where capitalism is failing everybody. Oh, I'll show you. No, really, show me. Show me here in the West where capitalism has failed. Show me. Well, there are people being left behind. They're being left behind in a kind of half-ass way. Most of the time, if you're left behind, you've kind of made some poor choices to be left behind. Right? Like that's kind of where you are. Listen, I don't want to say, no, it's the reality of it. Hell, even China's like, well, okay, here's the deal, guys. This whole thing with like, hey, Chairman Mao, we got the little red book and this, we'll celebrate him, but, we're not going to be an agrarian society. It's not going to work, or people are going to starve to death and die. So let's build some cities. Let's have some capitalism. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And let's give people some economic freedoms. Otherwise, this thing's going to collapse on itself. Russia didn't do that, fell apart. They realized that. North Korea? Anybody want to go there? Raise your hand. Cuba? Anybody want to go there? And I don't mean just like, let's go there and look around, then we'll come home. I mean, go there. Venezuela? Anybody want to go there? No, I didn't think so.
Socialism and Marxism has done in Cuba what it has done everywhere in the world that it's been tried. It has failed. It has failed. They gave up their freedom, or they were told, give up your freedom in exchange for a world-class healthcare system. It's not a world-class healthcare system. In fact, it's a healthcare system that does not even have the ability to deal with COVID at its very basic level.
Yeah. You got the greatest doctors in the world, but if they have nothing to operate with, and by that I mean just the basic needs. Like I've got a medicine cabinet here at work, as do most actual businesses, right? You have to have this stuff. I go in there, I have everything I need that you could think of. I have a defibrillator on this side. We have a defibrillator on the other side of the building. Most of those hospitals have none of that stuff. Where's the little radio show here? That's the insanity of the abundance of which we live comparatively to what they live. People out of enough. China had to make a choice. We got to give them some sort of freedoms. We'll give them some economic freedoms, right? Because if you give them a 3-bath, 2-bed mortgage, a car payment makes life, very busy. And when you're very busy, you don't have time to sit around and be pissed off over the fact that you've got nothing and the people above you are really making sure you have nothing, including freedom of thought. Oh, we got a lot to talk about today, kids. A lot to talk about. But this right here, I'm telling you, it's huge. I mean, we've not seen this in Cuba. Now, I think they're going to eventually get cracked down upon. Right? Russia will stand up and say, oh, you better not do anything to them. We'll kiss our ass. Right? That's what we should say. I don't know. Biden, he's still trying to figure out what he's going to do for, quote unquote, all of the people that are going in and ransomwaring us. He's still coming up with I got a plan. What is it? Super secret. Can't tell you guys, but it's going to be secret. Still coming up with that. But I will tell you this. They're going to crack down. It's how hard will they crack down on these people? The whole time I'm watching that out there, I'm like, wow, there's a bunch of people that, if this thing doesn't go the way they think, are all going to be in jail. All going to be in jail. Getting their asses whooped up on. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from you. We're also going to talk a little bit about this.
We recognize that we have to come together to fulfill the first responsibility of a democracy. That's to keep each other safe. And that's what the American people are looking for when it comes to reducing violent crime and gun violence. And I think this group is illustrative of what we need to get put together. And I want to thank them for being here. And I'm going to look forward to hearing from them because I'm going to be asking them what they think we should be doing in the federal level.
Yeah, look at that. Biden. Translation, I have no idea what you guys want me to do about this gun violence here. I mean, there's a lot of things that you guys should be doing, but yeah. So we could declare it something. This is what we could do. We could say that it's the NRA's fault and the Second Amendment's fault, and we could try to see if we could get some guns from people. But the people that are doing most of this stuff, they're not going to give their guns up. So, but we're going to ask the questions. That was kind of the way it went yesterday. Oh, my goodness. Not going to look at the real reason why there's gun violence. Not going to look at the real reasons why there's poverty. Not going to do any of those things. We're just going to blame the inanimate object for the problems. Right? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Hope you are well. My dog Doodle is well because he's got a smile on his face because he's eating well. And one thing we're doing with Doodle that we didn't do with him when we first got him because we didn't really know about it was Canine Vitasmart from Rough Greens. Started giving it to him about January of last year, right before the pandemic took hold. And we had taken him to the doctors a lot, the vet, because he had issues. His joints were a mess. He was just not in a good place. We thought we were going to put him to sleep. We'd only had him a couple of years, but he was much older than when we adopted him. But lo and behold, with the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients that come with Canine Vitasmart, this supplement that goes on top of your dog's food, it has changed his life. It has given him a better feel. His joints don't hurt. His arthritic hips don't hurt. He is more mobile and bouncy, and his coat is better than ever before. He's just a happier dog and a healthier dog, which saves us money, but also makes us smile. So why don't you try Canine Vitasmart? It's a supplement, goes on top of your dog's food, brings your dog's food to life. All you have to do is go to Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Chad. When you do that, they're going to send you a bag for free. So you're not costing you anything other than shipping. You pay for the shipping, they send you a bag for free. Doesn't get better than that. ruffgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
When we started with the vaccine implementation plan, there were large efforts like auditoriums or sports arenas filled with people getting vaccinated. When you get down to now a core lesser group, you've got to go one-on-one. And that's really what the president was talking about trying to get some of these advisors, not federal officials, but community people to go out there and try and convince people why it's so important for their own health to go out and get vaccinated.
Some of these communities, you'll have to go wrestle them. All right, here's the deal. This guy over here is from a city. He's a city folk. This guy's city folk. He wants to take a shot of something. So I said, all right. He said he'd wrestle our strongest hill person, and if he wins, we'll let him give us a shot. If he don't win, some mighty big lips there. I don't think that's the way that goes. I get what Fauci's trying to say. Yeah, city people, door to door, inch by inch, but you bring the people in you bring them in, the people they understand. That's what you got to do. And that's what we've said all along, but it goes back to this. I don't think they're going to buy it. You know, so do you remember the other day we're talking about Juvenile? You guys remember Juvenile? He's a rapper. He does rap music, kids. Does everybody recognize Juvenile? He did a big song in the late 90s, early 2000 called Back That Thing Up. Well, he did this for the vaccination push for a black dating website.
You finna online date chat, find a mate chat, open up the okay, profile picture looking tight chat, nice chat, got your bio reading right chat, precise chat, but before you find a date chat, you gotta wait chat, gotta go vaccinate chat, get it straight chat, girl you look good.
Well, guess what? People are already pushing back on it. How dare you? You know, you're going against the community, etc., etc. It's going to be tough. Some people are not going to buy into it, and you've got to be fine with that. And the problem is this want in this day and age to save everybody from everything is ridiculous. Over the weekend, it was that YouTube wouldn't show any of CPAC. Why? Why would you not show CPAC? Tell me why. Well, because they're going to say false things. Who cares? Right? Like at some point in time, this is why when we watch television and somebody's just driving down the street in their Honda Accord commercial, we have to put, this is a closed course track. Do not try this at home. Don't try driving the car. Why are you selling it to me? This is why we have warning labels on everything. When you're 2, I get it. You may swallow G.I. Joe's head. When you're 30 and you swallow G.I. Joe's head and then you stick his little machine gun up your nose, you're an idiot. Let people be. They don't want it, don't force it on them. It's the beauty of our country is the liberties and freedoms we have, and that is also freedoms to be an idiot. There's also freedom to make a choice that maybe isn't the smartest. But that's their life, going door to door. That'd be funny, though, if you had to wrestle somebody, right? We got to wrestle them. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. That's your Twitter, kids. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's important that we recognize what is happening in Cuba right now at this very moment. A spontaneous uprising that has never happened in the last 60 years has happened in more than a dozen cities across Cuba. The United States and the international community must do something now. The hour of freedom has arrived. La hora de libertad ha llegado.
That is the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez. It's an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal talking about how do they cling on to power? And it's pretty simple. Ruthless repression and shrewd opportunism. That's it. See, because what happened was so you've got Cuba, right? There's this uprising that's going on, and it is spontaneous. And yeah, do we have influence? And of course we do, because we have the internet, and the influence that's going on there in many cases isn't so much this influence of America. The planting seeds are seeing their cousins, their aunts, their uncles, their brothers and sisters that are here, and they've got the internet, and they're looking at them and my God, these people are living a life that we couldn't even imagine, and they're doing it miles away from us, and we're oppressed. We're struggling with everything. We have this COVID that has landed on our shores. Has it landed everywhere on the planet? And it's doing what? We can't even cover the basic needs. We've got nothing going for us.
Give up your freedom and you'll have an education, free education for everybody. That education, number one, you're a doctor. You can drive a taxi cab in Cuba and make more money. Or number two, you get forced to go overseas and work basically, barely any pay it on. It's basically human trafficking, as our own Department of State found when it looked at the Cuban doctors program and how it's been abused.
Yeah. It's crazy. And what do? They cling to power because they can always look somewhere else and say, the reason this doesn't work, the reason that these things aren't working for the people isn't because we don't love you. We're fighting for you in our big houses and driving our big cars and eating all the food we want. You're oppressed, and the reason that you're oppressed is because of outside influence, and we're going to get it right. And don't you worry. Even though everything else has failed before, don't you worry. We will make sure that things will go better. And much like a drug addict, right? You just give them enough to keep going because they don't know any better. But now with the freedom to see that others are living in ways that they couldn't even imagine, boom, people are pissed. But do they have the strength to carry on? Do they have the want? Right? Do they have the want to carry on? That's the other question. I think some do. But when you're facing the barrel of a gun, it's easy to say, well, I'd rather die than be oppressed. But human beings make choices in the split second. And do they have the want to do it? And once again, who's going to get the blame?
And so what's happened in Cuba is socialism has failed. It has to repress the people who complain about it. You don't get your freedom back. And like socialists always do, they have to find someone to blame. And who do they blame? Number one, they blame anybody in the country that doesn't agree with them. You're immediately a counter-revolutionary. You're immediately a pawn of the imperialists. And then, of course, they always blame the United States.
That's okay. This is one we'll say, you know what? Yeah, that's us right there. We'll take that one proudly. You're a hot mess. And if you think, whenever I see people say, America's evil and America's bad, and I was like, they never want to go to any of the places where it's an absolute crap show, right? They never want to do that. Right. None of them are doing that. Say what you want about Christian missionaries, but how many of you are like, you know what I'd really like to do? Go to Africa and some of the most war-torn areas in the world. Speak about my faith. Yeah, they're not doing that. It's like people, I'd like to get out of this country because I think it's horrible. They treat everybody wrong. Where do you want to go? Sweden? Oh, yeah, because it's like super oppressive there. Well, it's socialist. It's not. It's capitalistic free market society. You should understand that. They tried socialism in like the 70s and 80s and like, this sucks. Like everything's falling apart. All of our industries leaving. Why don't we give people a nice safety net? We'll tax them a little bit more, right? And at the same time, we'll let them have a free market and capitalism because this other stuff isn't working. No, they never want to go anywhere like that. Nobody's like, hey, I'd love to go to Cuba right now and just really delve into it. And the people that do want to go to those places, right, how many of them are really going to those places? They want to go and visit for a second. So I observed everything, man, and it just seems pretty awesome. Remember Michael Moore's movie? He went to Cuba to talk about how great their medical. You seeing all of it, right? Why aren't you talking to the people? Why aren't you asking the people, hey, do you like having free medical and the fact that you can't even get vaccine? Well, I could call that free medical. Our pharmacies have more than their best hospitals outside of the people that protect the health of the people who lead that country. So for all of you who want to wear a beret and smoke a cigar and scream revolution, right, and be on a, talk about the oppressor of the imperialism and colonialistic societies that are the likes of the West. And you do it by bitching, whining, and moaning, all from a cell phone created by capitalism, on the internet created by capitalism. Enjoy it, right? Because it's easy to talk about how bad life is when you're living with mom and dad. And you're pissed off because you spent $150,000 for an education, and nobody wants to hire you for that education because you got an education in interpretive dance. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Last night was the home run derby, right? It's where they go and they hit the ball. By the way, I was there talking to my wife last night. She's like, this is way more exciting than regular baseball. I'm like, right? It totally is. Yes, it is. It's even like, the day before, the English lost in the European Cup final in a penalty shootout. And as much as people are like, this is awful, it's just heartbreaking. Oh, my God, it's exhilarating to watch. But yesterday was really America, anybody who pays attention to baseball, their opportunity to really get a first-hand look at Ohtani, the superstar from Japan. The superstar from Japan who is garnering things and comparisons like...
I mean, obviously, I've never seen him play in live, but I've seen a lot of footages and heard a lot of stories and read about him a lot. And if you're a baseball player, obviously, you've heard his name before, and he's like a legendary figure. And it's a huge honor to be compared to somebody like that. But all I can do is just try my best and see how my season and career ends up. Okay.
Babe Ruth. Ohtani is being compared to Babe Ruth. He leads the major leagues in home runs. He leads it in home runs. By the way, who's starting the All Star Game? He was competing last night. He got knocked out in the first round in what was an epic home run smash-off derby. But he'll also be the starting pitcher tonight, and he throws the ball at times well over 100 miles an hour. Stephen A. Smith is paid to have hot takes. Yesterday, he said something that pissed people off, but I will tell you this right now. I agree with Stephen A. Smith indubitably because he's right.
When I look at Ohtani, he is big time. Babe Ruth, 33 home runs, batting .279, got a 4-on-1 record with a 3.79 ERA as a pitcher. This brother is special. Make no mistake about it. But the fact that you got a foreign player that doesn't speak English, that needs an interpreter, believe it or not, I think contributes to harming the game to some degree when that's your box office appeal. It needs to be somebody like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, those guys. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, that's not the case.
Of course, people have gone after him. He's a xenophobe. He's evil. He's bad. How dare he?
Baseball was dying in the 90s. What saved it? It was the home run competition between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Now, obviously, Sammy Sosa, we learned later during his testimony on Capitol Hill that suddenly he needed an interpreter. You know, baseball being very, very good to him. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't enough. He needed an interpreter to speak for him when he was on Capitol Hill. Certainly didn't need that when he was smacking those home runs. But Mark McGwire basically helped save baseball because you had a dude that you could put on Wheaties boxes.
And he's right. He's absolutely right. This has nothing to do with race. People will make it race. Stephen A. Smith, you got a guy to put on Wheaties boxes. However, I find this to be absurd. He's right, though. If Mike Trout, my son and I had this conversation today because we watched Ohtani a little bit. And Jack likes to go to baseball games in the stadium, but he doesn't really like baseball. He doesn't not like he likes to play catch, but, it's like if I'm in the field, I'm bored. But he and I were talking about this. He doesn't know any of the players. My son is 11 years old, knows none of the players. And I was telling him about Ohtani. He said, this guy is so good, Jack, that he may lead the league in home runs this year. And he may win 15 games as a pitcher. That's what Babe Ruth, that's what guys way back in the day when you look at their statistics and they had like 48 wins in a season and stuff like that's insane. Mike Trout is arguably on his way to being one of the greatest, not the greatest baseball player of all time. If you walked into a mall today, first of all, that'd be amazing that you find a mall. But secondly, nobody know who he was. Nobody would. Baseball has a problem. But he was right with Ohtani. That's not great. And It's not his fault, but some of it he needs to take responsibility for. You've been here now going on, 3 seasons? You should speak English. I know that sounds harsh to say. You should. And he probably does speak a decent amount. Doesn't feel comfortable in front of the media. Okay, I might give him that. And these guys have selective. Jaromir Jagr, the great hockey guy, he was famous, spoke perfect English until there was a question he didn't like. Sammy Sosa was the same way. But a game that's dying, whose audience more or less is dying, if you don't figure out a way to make the game better and to promote your stars, which is also Major League Baseball's issue, this was Stephen A. Smith had to come out and issue this usual mea culpa about him not being a xenophobe. Oh my God, I'm not a xenophobe. No, I never thought he was a bad guy. First of all, he's paid to have hot takes. Secondly, he's right. He's absolutely right about this. You know, the LPGA, Women's Professional Golf Tour, several years ago, they tried to mandate that you had to speak English. All the European women did. Obviously, the Americans did. But the people who dominated, which was the Japanese and South Koreans, they didn't. So when you do these pro-ams and you go out and you play and the person with them doesn't speak English, it's kind of uncomfortable, especially considering, hey, you know what? This is my company sponsoring this tournament. I'm giving millions of dollars to this. And it just feels there are certain things that need to be done. It is a business, first and foremost. He came out and said, let me apologize right now. Watching this thing unfold, I never intended to offend any community, particularly the Asian community. I don't think it was. He went on there and he did this thing. Ohtani's great, but the reality is Stephen A. Smith was right. This isn't about xenophobia. This is about the fact that if you really want to make this thing rock, you better figure out a way to not only promote your stars, but promote them not just in Japan or Korea or wherever they're from, but here. Because the game is played here. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Raycon, the best earbuds around. The best earbuds around. The best. That's all you need to know. At a price that's right, premium earbuds, no stems, no wires, 6 different gel tips that come with it. So every ear, no matter how big or small it is, it'll fit perfectly, giving you the nice noise isolating fit that you want, that you crave, that you need. Not going to fall out. 6 hours of talk time, 45-day happiness guarantee. And did I mention premium earbuds at a price that start well under $100? Save big right now by going to buyraycon.com/Chad, buyraycon.com/Chad, buyraycon.com/Chad. Save big now, an extra 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Podcasts are American as hot dogs, apple pie, football, and sushi.
Oh my goodness. No.
Okay, maybe not sushi. Next time you have a craving for something sweet and tangy, download a Chad Benson Show podcast.
Boy, that is good. It's different because you get a little bit of saltiness.
It's so good because it's sweet and salty at the same time.
Get a taste on iTunes, iHeart, or Spotify and binge to your ear's content.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
The J&J vaccine has sort of lagged because it's been plagued with issues. For example, an 11-day pause after a rare blood clotting disorder was associated with it. So it's never been a major component in the U.S. But I do think that this is going to add to vaccine hesitancy in the U.S. We're talking about 100 cases and over 21 million doses given. This is a very rare type of thing. And we've seen Guillain-Barré syndrome occur with other vaccines. The Guillain-Barré vaccine occurs after certain infections. So this is something we anticipated, and it really shows that our safety monitoring systems are picking up these very rare side effects.
Yeah, Guillain-Barré syndrome. That's Johnson & Johnson's new hurdle to get over. Still, though, it's one shot. People are like, I'll take that. I don't have to come back. Because it's like one shot with with the chance of a blood clot and Guillain-Barré syndrome. But it's minuscule. So I just try to explain to people. Somebody tweeted yesterday, they're never going to listen to my show again, which is fine. I mean, I get that every day. At Chad Benson. So people that aren't getting vaccinated are in lower income brackets, and they're in lower income brackets because they make unwise decisions, just like not getting vaccinated. I said, yeah. Well, first of all, the lower income brackets, I didn't make that up. That was a whole different study, right? Do people in lower income ranges tend to make decisions that aren't wise? Let's look at the data. Probably yes. You talk about disgusting people. I don't know who that. You sounded so full of yourself and condescending towards people that are below the poverty line. I'm not. But if you don't want to get vaccinated, okay? Like you got to look at the reality of life. Look at successful people. What are they doing? Well, I'm not going to do that. Well, okay, then. There you go. Get vaccinated. Don't get vaccinated. Don't shoot the messenger when it comes with the data that you don't like. Won't be listening to your show anymore. Disgusting. Fantastic. It's okay. I get it. I hope you find what you're looking for. I was just pointing out the data. And yes, do I think people who are usually below the poverty line, a majority of them have made poor decisions? I'm going to say somewhere along the line that's probably true. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just all oppressed. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Socialism and Marxism has done in Cuba what it has done everywhere in the world that it's been tried. It has failed. It has failed. They gave up their freedom, or they were told, give up your freedom in exchange for a world-class healthcare system. It's not a world-class healthcare system. In fact, it's a healthcare system that does not even have the ability to deal with COVID at its very basic level.
Oh, Marco Rubio. Boom. Has every right to say that. Cuba has an uprising. Should you be excited? Probably not. They're probably going to get thumped down. That's the reality of what will probably happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the uprising continues. People are looking around. They said, damn it, we want stuff. We don't want to drive a car from 1947 because this is the newest version of anything that's out there like this outside of what the government has. We want stuff. We want freedoms. I want to look at you and go, I don't like you. I don't like the way that you're governing without you taking me behind a woodshed and whooping my ass. Want to be able to go to the store, not wait in line for 9 hours to get our rationings. We want stuff. I'm telling you guys, once it falls, woo, that is so going to be the Vegas of the South. People like, what are you doing? Flying to Havana this weekend. It's a pretty awesome bachelor party. It's going to be awesome. It's totally happening. But will that happen now? I don't think so. I don't think that'll happen now.
The Cuban people demanding their freedom from an authoritarian regime. And I don't think we've seen anything like this protest in a long, long time, if quite frankly ever. The United States stands firmly with the people of Cuba as they assert their universal rights. And we call on the government of Cuba to refrain from violence, their attempts to silence the voice of the people of Cuba.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. Because you go and you crack down on things. You crack down on the people. Give us stuff. Give us freedom. Libertad. They're not getting freedom. I don't know if they have the want. I mean, you would think that people, because we live in it, we take it for granted too. Let's be real. We take our stuff for granted. Our freedoms. Take it for granted. We totally do. Our Constitution only gets talked about when somebody else feels like they have to wave it in front of somebody's face. It's all right. And that goes for both sides. We totally take our freedoms for granted. The most we've bitched about freedom in the last, I don't know, forever has been like, I don't want to wear a mask inside of Costco. You can't tell me what to do. I'm an American. But I don't think they, as exciting it is to watch, and you think to yourself, could this be the tipping point? Is this the situation with, when you look back and you go back to the late 80s and you're watching the fall of the Eastern Bloc as it crumbles and, started with Poland and all of a sudden it starts to go and slowly but surely the domino effect happens. And, oh, my goodness, could this be the part? I don't think so. One of the things that has happened, though, is the internet.
It's a relatively new phenomenon in Cuba. It's only been in recent years that there has been internet on cell phones, but that seems to have been cut.
Yeah, because they're looking, right? And they're seeing. Could you imagine? Because the difference between like what goes on in Havana and in Cuba comparatively to North Korea is two different. One is a cult. It is an absolute cult. The other one, their family members can still come visit. That's one of the things they started allowing a while ago. They know what's on the other side. They understand in many ways what's over there. They see what's happening. They understand it. But they can't get it. And they've been sold a bill of goods that all of this stuff is great. Everything's amazing.
That says, give up your freedom for economic security. What economic security? People are hungry. Homes are crumbling. There is no economy. There is no real economy in Cuba.
No. What can't you do? Well, you can own a business, kind of, but it can't get very big. Otherwise, it may challenge the authoritarian state, so they'll make sure they destroy it. There is no you. There is only the government. There is no choice.
Give up your freedom and you'll have an education, free education for everybody. That education, number one, you're a doctor. You can drive a taxi cab in Cuba and make more money. Or number two, you get forced to go overseas and work basically, barely any pay it on. It's basically human trafficking, as our own Department of State found when it looked at the Cuban doctors program and how it's been abused.
Yeah. So true. Do they have the want? We'll see. I don't think so. It would take a couple of days. And then, you got the new guy in, right? Because Raul's gone. There's no more Castros in power. You got Diaz in there now. What is she going to be like? Because everybody tests it, right? Like, new guy. Got to test new guy. Got to test the new guy. Is the new guy going to thin the herd? Is he going to do something where he cracks down? And how's the military? Right? What's the one thing you got to do when you're in a position like that? You got to feed the military. You got to make sure they have everything that nobody else has. Keep them happy. Because once that starts to go, then I start thinking, this new guy sucks, and he ain't giving us the things we need. I don't think so. So we'll see. Do they have the want? That I don't know. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. This is so what's going on in America today. People, oh my God, I can't find workers. Workers like, can't find a job. And they're like, oh, I can't find workers. And I can't find a job. And if you work, it's like, oh, you're only being enslaved. And the battle's on. Burger King in Lincoln, Nebraska. Put a sign up about quitting.
The Burger King himself would definitely disapprove of the sign created by his underlings. We all quit. Sorry for the inconvenience, read the message outside this Lincoln, Nebraska Burger King.
Hold the pickle, hold the lettuce, special orders don't upset us.
What did upset the staff here were the working conditions. Broken AC in the kitchen, pushing temperatures into the 90s.
It's just so hot in there.
Yeah, that's not good. You need to take care of that. A lot of times what happens is a franchisee, so you have a franchisee who owns several of these, not listening to people. This is what you get. right? This is what you get. Put through the sign up there saying, sorry, we quit.
Manager Rachel Flores says she ended up at the hospital getting fluids for dehydration. When she gave 2 weeks' notice, so did 8 of her staff.
We wanted a big laugh to them, so the whole "we all quit" was mainly to them.
With sorry for the inconvenience to customers. The sign went viral. Posted one commenter, "I have nothing but respect and an unfortunate craving for an egg and cheese croissant."
Yeah. Think about that, though. That's everywhere. And the Burger King I go to on Wednesdays. So Wednesdays around here, I go hit golf balls pretty much every day. You know, sometimes only for an hour. Sometimes I'm out there and I'll play a quick 9, try to get through fast. So I go do that. But on Wednesdays, I stop every Wednesday and I stop at this Burger King. And they've been looking for people for months and months. And sometimes I'll go there and I'll get stuck in that line for like 30 minutes. There's only 3 cars. It's not like it's 40 cars. And they struggle. They struggle. Big time. They'll hire people. The lady says, I'll hire somebody. And next day they got a job. Or they'll come in and they'll interview and they don't want the job. They just want to show that they put something in. On the other side of stuff, while these employees are getting pissed, there are people who run businesses and they say, well, you know what? This is life, man. I got to deal with it.
A few hours later, she got a call from upper management.
And he told me I needed to have it taken down. Told him that I couldn't do that because we were short-staffed and lunch was just starting.
After a total of about 6 hours, the "We All Quit" sign was replaced with "Now hiring, flexible schedules." But others thought it was the workers who had egg on their face. Little kids crying, "Get over it. Welcome to being an adult."
Probably a little bit of truth in both of that. But that's the battle that's going on. And these franchisees better figure out what they're going to do. Well, they can pay more. They could pay more. They could. But even at this moment in time, people feel like they deserve better than that. Well, then go get something better than that. The minute they can automate everything, that will happen fast. And then what? Well, on to something else. But you're going to be competing in a different pool. And we'll see how that goes. But no, you got to treat your employees with respect. Absolutely. But you also have to show it that, hey, look, this is a business as well, right? I can't pay you $40 to flip a hamburger. We work on volume and making a few cents on everything. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Every week, like tomorrow, I'll go there and I say I'm not going to go. Then I'll go and I'll get frustrated. And sometimes I realize, you know what? Some people are doing their best. There are some people, though, that are just, how do you survive? How do you get through the day? How do you do it? Oh, man. MyPillow right now has the Giza Dream Sheets. The sheets of sheets. Long staple cotton. It's breathable. It's comfortable. It's the softest thing you'll ever sleep on. It is grown in a particular area near the Mediterranean Sea in between the Nile and the Sahara Desert. It is amazing. These are the best sheets you will ever own. Right now, there's a BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Your chance to get not one, but 2 sets for the price of one. 60-day money-back guarantee, 1-year warranty. Right now, jump all over this. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. All the colors you could dream of and all of the sizes you need, right? So if you need a twin, they got a twin. If you want a double, they got a double. If you want a queen, they got a queen. And if you want a king, they got a king. BOGO, buy one, get one free. Giza Dream Sheets. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let us take a peek. Shall we? Yeah. Start with Twitter, because there's always fun stuff on Twitter. People fighting over stuff. All right. So Michael Wolff's got a new book out about Trump. So that should be interesting. It's probably totally all true. Is it really? Washington Post. It's a big excerpt about Trump. Inside Trump's election day and the birth of the big lie. Ted Bundy is trending. How about that? He didn't even know he's trending because there's movies out about him. Right? Today, Chad Michael Murray's movie trailer dropped for American Boogeyman. People are asking the question, why are there so many movies about Ted Bundy? Because monsters are among us and they intrigue us. They intrigue us. That's the reality of it. There's a reason why these podcasts about crimes, and there's, was it the ID channel, all these, they're flourishing. People are intrigued by crime. Mostly, though, it's mostly women. It's like, how did she do it? Get away with it? Home Run Derby on Google yesterday. 2 million people. Pete Alonso defended his crown. Guillain-Barré syndrome. People are like, what can we get now? The Guillain-Barré syndrome? What is that? Mel Gibson. Apparently, he saluted Donald Trump at a rally. And you can see him there saluting Donald Trump. I think that's him. I don't know. Stephen A. Smith is still trending and will continue to trend for a while, I'm assuming, because of what he said about Ohtani, the great baseball player from Japan, which I didn't think was anything other than the truth. But remember, we live in a world where people don't want to hear certain things if it makes them uncomfortable. And I don't think he said anything wrong, and it wasn't about him, per se, as much is it about the fact that when he said that Ohtani not speaking English hurts the marketing of the game and the growth of baseball, he was right. It had nothing to do with the skills, the color of his skin, any of that stuff. It had all to do with the fact that baseball has a problem marketing, and if the person doesn't speak English, that's going to make it tougher. And Cuban protests are continuing to trend because people are wondering how soon till they crack down on everybody in Cuba. And my answer is, I'd be surprised if there was a ton today. But you don't know. You do not know. The possibility is they could still get out and protest. They could still get out, and I don't know if they will. I don't know. Like I've said, and I've said it all along, when you have nothing and you get fed up, you would like to think that these people are going to go the full freight and demand change and get it. But I don't know if they will. And it's sad. And, of course, whose fault is it?
And so what's happened in Cuba is socialism has failed. It has to repress the people who complain about it. You don't get your freedom back. And like socialists always do, they have to find someone to blame. And who do they blame? Number one, they blame anybody in the country that doesn't agree with them. You're immediately a counter-revolutionary. You're immediately a pawn of the imperialists. And then, of course, they always blame the United States.
Yeah. And many people probably say it's true, though. It's true. It's true. It's all our fault. Everything's our fault. Okay. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Do love hearing from you. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
Okay. So, human beings with an ID. Okay. How's that? Yeah, but you got to understand something. Be cognizant of that, of who these people are. Okay, who are they? Are they Americans? Yeah. Okay. Are they over the age of 18? Yeah. Then you need to have an ID. Just in general. Take away. Let's just take away elections. You should have an ID. I can't get an ID. Why can't you get an ID? You're the same. This is the same. I can't get a bank account, people. Okay, every once in a great while, you'll have an ID. You'll have your ID stolen. You'll have your identity stolen. Something could throw something up in there and cause chaos and havoc. But let's just leave that 0.0001% of people out of this discussion. Miss Vice President. So let's keep in mind who people are, because, the people in Texas, right, they're leaving. The Democrats, they're out here. They're like, we're not going to stay here. We're going to go save everything. We're leaving. We're going to just get on out.
Then when you look at the cases that are being investigated by the Office of Attorney General of voter fraud or voter illegality, those numbers have over the last 6-8 years have spiked. It's not a steady increase. It's a shocking and disturbing trend.
Yeah. Lawmaker, they're talking about what? What's going on with... Well, these things are so restrictive. Look, I don't care. There's ways. Do I think the Republicans in certain cases are overstepping and idiotic? Of course. But blown out of proportion by the media and the left? Absolutely. 100%. It's not hard to say, look, you've got X amount of days to get your ballot in. Right? Starting here. You need to register with an ID to vote. Don't think that should be too hard. I don't. I think it should be pretty simple to do. Oh, you can't. You can't get it. It's impossible. So Texas wants to do this, and what everybody in Texas, all Democrats, we're just going to leave. That way you guys can't have quorum. And so you guys can't vote on the bill. It's going to suppress everybody. Texas is overstepping in some areas, and I don't, look, as a person who looks around and says to myself, look, vote, let's just lay it out. Shouldn't be this hard. Let's have voting on, how about this? We do voting on Saturday or a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But the following Monday, all the other absentee ballots have to be in and postmarked by that day. There is nothing else outside of military far away, and it's not like they don't know when it's coming. We act like, oh my God, is that 4-year thing here? Oh, gee, again? But this want to protect people or protecting their rights. I protect their rights to vote too. But you should have an ID. First of all, you should have an ID for your well-being. And in many cases, if you're over the age of 18, they require you to do that. What should be very insulting is the fact that the Democrats think everybody who's a person of color or poor is stupid.
Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's. There's no Office Max near them.
Okay. There's no Kinko's. There's no Office Max. There's none. You have 4 years. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 if you do midterms. But let's be real. How many? Only super diehards vote in midterms. It's like you have 4 years to figure this out. 4 years. Can't do it. Can't do it in 2 days. Can't do it in 2 months. Can't do it in 2 years. Can't do it in 4 years. Can't do it. No, Judge, can't do it. Just can't do it. Now, like I said, some of this stuff I'm not a fan of. I think they've overreached in some of these. I think you should have to show your ID to go and register to vote. And then that should be that. I think ballot harvesting should be absolutely blown out of the water. It should not happen. And I think mailing in your ballot is fine. I got no problem with that. Zero. Most people would anyways. We're people of convenience. We're talking about a minute part of the population that would have a trouble with this. But the way that the Democrats treat is amazing. Like, oh, you guys, you don't have the internet. And like, you know, it's just, it's the same old. You're not a victim, and you know that. And how do you let them talk down to you like you're an idiot?
Of course, people have to prove who they are, but not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are.
What? Of course people have to prove they are. Okay. But not in a way that makes it impossible. So, explain to me again, Ms. Vice President. You have to prove who you are, but it's almost impossible? How is it almost impossible? Like I say, I got zero problem with drop boxes. It's not hard to man drop boxes for a certain period of time. From Friday at 6 a.m. till Sunday night at 8 p.m. You can have somebody out there, you have a camera, so everybody can feel comfortable about it. Little things that shouldn't be this hard. But the ID thing always boggles the mind. And the way that people are like, are you stupid? Is that why you can't get an ID? Like, I have an ID. Are you sure? Are you sure? Because we're here to help. Shut up. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. If you ever go to Florida, looking for a job or just looking for fun, some people go fishing, right? Like, I'm gonna go fishing. Right? I'm going to Mexico. I'm gonna go Cancun. We're gonna go fishing. We're gonna do all kinds of stuff. It's great. I'm going down to San Diego. I'm going on a 3-day boat thing. I'm gonna go to Florida. I'm gonna catch a marlin. I'm gonna do all these amazing things. If you want to go to Florida and do something fun, how about catch yourself a big old snake?
A state-sponsored contest begins today to hunt Burmese pythons in the Everglades.
Joining us now is Donna Khalil, one of the snake hunters who will be part of the contest. She was the first female to become a state-licensed python elimination specialist in Florida.
They've eaten pretty much 98% of the animals down in Everglades National Park, and they're working their way north, and we're trying to stop them. So the Python Challenge is basically set up to educate the public as to how they can help.
Yep, Python Challenge. You can go down there and get yourself a license, get yourself a truck, start going after these things, and start hunting them. Start hunting them because they're an invasive species. Well, it's because people, first of all, are some pet owners very bad in situations like this? Yes. Because they see a snake and it's 3 feet long and it's beautiful, and that they don't realize that snake is eventually going to become anywhere between 12 and 20 feet long, depending on what kind of it is, but mostly Burmese pythons. And in places like Florida and Georgia, North Carolina, and a few other places throughout the South, that is no different than their home. And so they can get out to the Everglades, and they've got an abundant supply of food and then grow fast. But a lot of what's taken place and a lot of how these things got out, mostly to do with people running and saying, oh, my God, here comes a hurricane. The houses are trashed. Their animals are, I've got tons of friends out there who've, you try to evacuate and do as much as possible. But as we all know, nature will mess you up, and that includes your house.
You basically, you go out in the Everglades. I have a vehicle that I drive the levees and roads out there in the Everglades and search for them. And we're basically hunting the hunters. They're out there usually at night, and we go out there at night chasing them down. Once we come across them, they're actually moving pretty slow because they're hunting. They're an ambush hunter. They're moving pretty slow. If you sneak up and grab them by hand, and then the excitement starts, depending on how big that snake is, it's going to give you a run for your money.
Yeah. Yeah, it will. These things are, I have some my pythons that I have. I've got like special, like little ball pythons that are, different kind of gene pools and stuff like that. But I also have reticulated pythons. And even my little one, she is probably 7-8 feet long. She's as strong as a beast. She is, even now, you can feel it from when I had her. And so the minute you catch something and you're dealing with something this big, it's coming for you. And they're constrictors, so they're not poisonous. Let's just.
You make sure it doesn't wrap around your neck or anything else that you don't want strangled, because that is what they do. They're not venomous. They are constrictors. And just to be clear, if you come across one down here in South Florida, you just look at it, it'll look at you, it'll turn around and go away. These were pets back 40 years ago. Now the ones that we're catching are not pets anymore. They're 12, 13, 14 generations out from being pets. But they're still, they were pets, just like cats and dogs. A lot of people have them. Over 1 million people have pet snakes.
Yeah, because people like it. It's great. And they're big. Know this, they are huge. Huge.
And it's not the biggest I've caught. I've caught 15 and a half. That's my biggest. But the largest is 18 feet, 9.25 inches. So they're monsters. They're monsters. We need help. Let's come on down and help us catch them.
They're not monsters. They're just doing what is natural. They're not monsters. People say that about great white sharks. They're not monsters. They're doing what's natural. They're finding themselves in an area where there's a food supply, and they're doing what nature does. And it's funny because it's okay to hate snakes, right? Reptiles, because they don't look nice, and they're not fuzzy. Well, they're killing and destroying stuff. Yeah, they are. And there are some bad pet owners. And then there was situations, again, hurricanes, things of that nature, but they're not monsters. Are they invasive, though? Absolutely. Do they need to be taken care of? Yes. But I just they're monsters. They're not monsters. They're not. Jeez. And they're venomous, and they breathe fire, and they're evil, and they have laser beams, and one of them tried to rob me. He had a gun. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. My dog loves his Rough Greens. I give it to all three of my dogs. And by the way, I have sprinkled Rough Greens on top of Sir Winston, my big rock iguanas, food, and the tortoise, Merle. They eat it up. Figure, why not? It's good enough for them. It's good enough for the dogs. Why not good enough for them? It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics. It's got omega-3, 6, 9. It's got all these amazing things. And it brings your dog's food to life. It has helped my dog with his joint pains. It's helped my dog really with he had fatty tumors and arthritis in his hips. The fact that he's as mobile as he is and he's bouncing around is so amazing. I love it. And it is helping extend his life. Start your dogs off right, or better yet, catch them up by giving them Rough Greens. The supplement goes right on top of your dog's food. Sprinkle it on top. Get a free bag right now. So you get the bag for free. You just cover the cost of shipping. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Or call 833-MY-DOG-77 to claim your free bag. You cover shipping. It comes straight to you. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It's important that we recognize what is happening in Cuba right now at this very moment. A spontaneous uprising that has never happened in the last 60 years has happened in more than a dozen cities across Cuba. The United States and the international community must do something now. The hour of freedom has arrived. La hora de libertad ha llegado.
Mayor of Miami, Suarez there, talking about Cuba. Leaders are calling for more protests. People even in America who have fled that country are saying, let's vote back to back the movement. Russia's come out and said, no, don't do this. What are you going to do, though? Honestly. What are you going to do, Russia? What are you just curious. Like, what's your go-to on this? You're going to come after us? Are you? What exactly is going to be the go-to in this scenario? You coming for us, Putin? Are you? Are you coming hard? You come. I don't know if we'll do anything. I doubt it. Don't for a second think, oh, we're not really doing anything. No, absolutely we are. We are definitely doing all we can to twist and turn and push and poke and make sure that those people there see that they are being oppressed. Those people there are seeing that they do not have anything, even the basics to fight what's going on right now.
One thing that has hurt vaccine rollout has been sanctions. According to the Cuban government, the Soberana vaccine has been, according to the government, they've stalled production because they've been unable to get a material that they need to produce the vaccine.
So it's our fault. Well, that's the point. We could send them all the vaccines they wanted. Well, why would we? Well, it's the nice thing to do. Well, no, let the Russians do it if they're so into it. Let the Chinese do it if they want to. You don't, and here's something. Almost guarantee every one of those people who are high up in the Communist Party are enjoying the vaccines that they've had. I'm just saying, that's what I feel. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Do you like beef? Meat.
Where's the beef?
New study says that men eat meat to feel masculine. It's nothing to do with our molars and our teeth. It's to feel like a real man. It's according to a study out of UCLA. Shifting men's perceptions of the idea of gender roles away from traditional masculinity could lead to their reduction in consumption of beef and chicken, says Daniel Rosenfield, who authored the study. He's a psychologist. They study people 18 to 88, men, and their eating habits, willingness to turn vegan or vegetarian, their tendency to conform to tradition gender roles. So, translation. You're not becoming a vegan because you don't want to transition away from traditional gender roles. It can't be that meat tastes great and that's a nature thing and that we've done this. Nope. It's all about the gender roles, kids. Really? I love meat. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Demands for freedom echoing across Cuba, from one end of the island nation to the other. Though mostly peaceful, there were clashes with police and Cuban special forces, the calls for change resonating a little more than 90 miles away. Streets were shut down in South Florida as the Cuban exile community showed their support for the protesters in their homeland. Tonight, the streets are calmer in Cuba amid an increased police presence. In an address to the nation, Cuba's leader blamed U.S. policies like the embargo for the current state of affairs and said a social media campaign was fueling the protest.
By the way, remember what Trump did? Embargo, right? Cut stuff off. New guy comes in, Biden. He's not lifting any of that. Why is that? Well, what happened? We went down there, Obama, this is great. Look what Obama did. He goes down there and this two coming together of adversaries and the whole 9 yards. And then we opened up an embassy and our people got sick and all kinds of stuff went on. They did that stuff with their ears and the ringing and doing the certain things made them, they're good people. No. The people of Cuba may be good. The Communist Party, bad. People of Cuba may be wonderful. Communist Party, bad. If it's so great, why do they lack everything?
There have been a lot of scarcities in Cuba, very long lines, much longer than normal. People waiting for hours to buy specific things like chicken or detergent or soap.
Think about that. Chicken, detergent, and soap. We wait in line on the day after Thanksgiving to buy giant TVs, video game consoles. They wait in line for the bare necessities. It doesn't work. Socialism / communism, Marxism doesn't work. It fails. It sucks. It's never worked. It works because the people in power have the guns to crush the people who don't. It works because you can turn into a cult, see North Korea. Oh, it works in China. It doesn't work. China eventually had to say, all right, here's the deal. We got to give these guys something because there's like a billion of them. And if they don't have something and we can't feed them, we're going to end up like Russia. We're going to fall apart. So we better figure this damn thing out. So they said, well, let's give them a 3-bedroom, 2-bath thing to think about and work for every single day. Let's give them some economic freedom so we can steal their other freedoms. Socialism, communism doesn't work. Venezuela has the largest oil supply on the planet. And they can't even make that work. It's a hot mess.
Socialism and Marxism has done in Cuba what it has done everywhere in the world that it's been tried.
Failed.
It has failed.
Failed.
It has failed. They gave up their freedom, or they were told, give up your freedom in exchange for a world-class healthcare system. It's not a world-class healthcare system. In fact, it's a healthcare system that does not even have the ability to deal with COVID at its very basic level.
No, it doesn't. It's got nothing, right? What do you have? You got this great educational system? Sounds great. Well, have fun on the island when there's nothing to do. Can't own anything. You can have a small, tiny business, but if it gets too big, they crush you. Have no freedom of thought. What's the use of being educated if you can't have any freedom of thought?
That says, give up your freedom for economic security. What economic security? People are hungry. Homes are crumbling. There is no economy. There is no real economy in Cuba.
No. They were hoping tourism would give them enough to keep the people happy. That's how they do it. Give them a hit. Keep them happy. Keep the people in power. Now they're having to deal with it. Do they have the guts? Do the people, have they had enough? I always say there's a breaking point for everything, right? There's a breaking point for everything. The Russians realized their breaking point came when they could no longer keep control. The people had gotten too powerful. They had saw what happened in Poland. They were looking over at the Eastern Germans and the wall coming down. They realized that they were spread thin. They had nothing. They could not sustain that. The Chinese allowed so much economic freedom, and the fact that they could have slave labor and courted foreign business to come over there, all the while to give them the opportunity to have access at cheap labor so they could steal their IPs, intellectual properties, and to open themselves up in a way. But it's all about the Communist Party. If they thought I was going to go away tomorrow, based on all the things they do, they'd shut that thing down in a heartbeat. But eventually, it would collapse upon itself. How much longer can Cuba hold on? Castros are gone now. Diaz is a new guy. We'll see. This could be a massive story, or much like a lot of these other things, eventually, slowly but surely, this thing will fade away. I think there's a chance this could move in such a way that, you have 2 or 3 more days of these. The question's going to be, at what point do you turn on the people to the point where it disgusts the whole world? Because we can watch and see. That's what people are waiting for, right? That's what people are looking at. Can they sustain it long enough? What can they do to continue to push for changes? And how do you implement those changes? I don't think it's going to be a coup, but are you going to be like Gorbachev, right? Kind of realize that the writing's on the wall and we better figure something out? Or are you going to continue to crack down, do the Hugo Chavez Maduro thing? But at some point, and it's starting to happen again in Venezuela, it's going to go sideways. It will. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing, just talking to you guys. Love and hate. I'm good with both. You see what's going on in Texas? People in Texas having a battle over voting rights. The bills that are going on there. And some people, the Democrats, have decided we're all going to go to D.C. We're just going to get out of here. You guys cannot do anything if we're not here. That's insane, right? We all can agree that?
Why not just fight this out in Texas?
So we've been fighting it out all session long for 140 days. If Republicans can silence our voices in Texas, they will just march across this country till we no longer have a democracy. The fight for federal voting rights is in the nation's capital.
That is Rachel Scott talking to State Rep Trey Martinez Fisher. So that's what the Republicans do. No, it's like we have Republican states, we have Democrat states. We have a republic. Republicans are doing things, some of which I'm like, I've got no problem with. There's other parts of this, I'm like, it feels like it's an overreach, but it's your state. And in your state, you're allowed to run it as you see fit, as long as you're not crushing anybody's civil. Well, we are. They're taking away everybody's civil rights to vote. No, they're not. Not doing any of those things. Yes, they are, because they're going to require an ID. And as we all know,
people have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
That was our esteemed Vice President Harris yesterday. Okay, I'm in mind. Who are they? Like, who are they? Are they people that you always say are victims? Because they can't get an ID? Mm-hmm. That's what they are. People who don't know where. I mean, they all have IDs, but they can't get IDs. But they have IDs. Well, they can't get them. No, but they have them. Remember a couple weeks ago when they're talking about COVID and people of color not getting vaccines? Like, well, it's because they don't know how to get on the internet. It's like, how pissed would you be if people talk to you like you were a 3-year-old all the time? We should have a discussion about ID. Take away the voting side of it. If you're an adult, you should have an ID. If you're an adult, you should have an ID. It's, well, now, that's just me. And all states, if you're over the certain age, 18, you should have an ID. Maybe I'm weird. But can we do things? Yes. I don't care what time you vote. I think there should be a specific time, right? So let's just say we started Friday morning at 6 a.m. and we go all the way to Sunday night, and the last mail has to be postmarked by that following Monday. And then that's that. Anything arrives outside of that, unless it's people who are mailing it in, serving in our armed forces somewhere around the world. And even then, what's happening. This is not a shocker. But that's the battle, and he's going to discuss it today, and we'll get into it a little bit more tomorrow. I just find it to be at times ridiculous. We're still fighting over voter ID. Well, let's be clear on who we're talking about. Everybody is who we're talking about. Everybody. Every human being that has the right to vote in this country is who we're talking about when it comes to voter ID. Now, have they overreached in some states where I think they've gone too far? Yeah, I think some states they have. That's my opinion. For others out there, I mean, what are you so scared of? But at the same time, on the other side of it, they're like, it makes me laugh. They're like, we don't care if you have an ID. Man, you vote whenever. That feels a little weird, too. Well, it was supposed to be postmarked yesterday, but it's 7 days late from the time that we extended the other thing for the postmark. But we're going to still allow it. That's the way it feels. How about come together, get your crap together, and fix this? Shouldn't be that hard. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. My Pillow makes Giza Dream Sheets. You know what I love about My Pillow? They make so much of their stuff in America. We're just talking about, right, like China and all the stuff that gets made there. Now, the cottons, long staple cotton for the Giza Dream Sheets, it's grown there in a small area in the Mediterranean between the Sahara Desert, the Nile, and the Mediterranean. But then everything else is made here, and all the pillows and all the other stuff's made here in the USA. We don't see that enough. As a kid growing up, it's like Buy American, Made in the USA was a big. Nowadays, like, oh, God. But we do like quality, and this is the best sheet you're ever going to own. Super soft, ultra soft, breathable like you cannot believe. 6-day money-back guarantee, different colors, sizes to fit any type of bed. Washable. You will love these. Buy one set, get another set free. Buy one, get one free. 2 for the price of 1. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be agender.
Are you stupid? What? Are you kidding me?
Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
The cost of used cars and trucks remains the driver of the higher CPI, rising 10.5% in June and accounting for a third of the total increase in consumer prices. Economists had been predicting an inflationary uptick as the country emerges from the pandemic, but last month's rise in the consumer price index was the steepest since 2008.
Oh, my God, Trump. Oh, it's not Trump's fault? No, but it should be. Everything is his fault. Oh, it's not? Oh. You mean inflation's like rising really, really fast? Yeah. 13-year high? Oh, it's got to be Trump's fault because 13 years ago, Trump. That's the way it'll be spun. Just like Trump did, just like every president does, right? Even if, let's say Biden left and says, I don't want to do this anymore. And then somebody elected, oh, God, I hope not, Kamala Harris, right? And things were going away. She'd be like, well, it's Trump's fault. And then it was that guy that came after Trump, Biden. It was his fault. Your predecessor? Yeah, it's totally his fault. So politics is the greatest, like, wasn't me. No. Are you sure? Because it felt like it was you. No, wasn't me. But you ordered it. Nah, it wasn't me. We have pictures of you. I don't think so. That's so politics. Things go great. It was like, it was all me. You weren't even there at the time. You weren't even born. It was pretty much, it was my idea. Your parents weren't even born. I know, but I did it myself. That's why. So it's amazing I am. And the people are like, well, that guy's really smart. Yeah, things are more expensive. Not a shocker. Not a shocker. Things are more expensive. Some of that is the fact that we had real issues with production. I think a good portion of that. Some of it is the fact that we weren't working. You know, gas prices were relatively stagnant or low. There wasn't a call for tons of petrol and fuel. So what happened last year is a lot of those people who were fuel producers and people who take fuel from point A to point B, they stopped doing those things and went out of business, and now it's costing people more. We just don't have the resources. It will level itself out to a certain extent, but the way that we're borrowing money, the way that we're spending money and printing money, that could be an issue that continues to see stuff stay at much higher levels than they should. So it's walking that fine line if you're the Democrats, because if things stay extremely high next year, who pays for it at the ballot box? You do. So figure out how you go about doing some of these things while trying to keep your quote-unquote promises. We'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Overcome. We will overcome. We will overcome someday. Deep in our heart, I do believe we will overcome someday.
That's the Texas Democrats singing "We Will Overcome" or "Shall Overcome," depending on if you like the words. We will overcome. This is Casey Kasem live from the grave. It's a big hit, and it's number one with a bullet. It's a long-distance dedication as the Texas Democrats have fled the state for fear that they may have to watch themselves lose in the voting ID rights bill. It was just awful. Awful, I say. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Somebody twittered at us earlier. Yesterday I was talking about vaccines. Vaccines? Oh, you were? Yeah, I was talking about vaccines yesterday. And this guy was not happy with me. It's not a shocker. I'm okay with that. This is at Chad Benson Show. So people that aren't getting vaccinated are lower income brackets, and they're in those lower income brackets because they've made unwise decisions, just like not getting vaccine. Now, let me tell you, I didn't do the study. I just read the data on the study. Study seems pretty darn legit. 70% of people who make $50,000 or less, households, are not vaccinated. Again, did not make up the study. It's a great article. Read it in a few places. People that are in lower brackets tend to, yes, maybe at times not make the best go of things. He says, you talk about disgusting people. By the way, I never called anybody disgusting. I didn't. Never once did I say anybody was disgusting. You sound so full of yourself and condescending towards the people that are below the poverty line. No, I'm honest. You don't like it, that's fine. He said, oh, those not getting vaccinated. Never said you had to get vaccinated. Never have, right? It's never been you get vaccinated if you want to, and if you don't. I mean, I've that's always been my thing. And I'm not disgusted by people in the lower tax brackets, if you will, below the poverty line. But to say that people below the poverty line haven't made some poor choices at times, not saying everybody. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all, but if you're going to look at it as a blanket, you say 70% of people under this threshold aren't getting vaccines. Yet people that make 100,000 and above, 96% of them have gotten vaccines. That's just data. Called me disgusting, says he will not be listening to my show anymore. Fair enough. Fair enough. Again, I am just a messenger of data. I interpret it for you like the scrolls. I look at them like scrolls and interpret them for you. And the way that I looked at that is, why are you not getting vaccinated? What is the reason you're not getting vaccinated? Please tell me. I think it's a fair question to ask. Are you not getting vaccinated because you're poor? No, it's free. Then it's got to be something else. Distrusting government's one. Crazy, wacky ideas or two. Yeah. Misinformation and ignorance is out there as well. So, but, everybody's allowed to have their opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion. You're allowed to have yours. Stephen A. Smith, the flamethrower from ESPN, was allowed to have his. And his opinion is on sports, and his opinions are on issues when it comes to sports, and sometimes issues that have to do with stuff that intersect between sports and pop culture and everything else. And one of the things he did was talk about the great baseball player. Show you, and I'm going to say his name, right? Some people are like, is it a Tani? Is it a Tony? I think it's a Tani. And he is great. He is amazing. He is incredible. He was in the home run hitting contest last night. He's going to be the starting pitcher at the All Star Game today. Most people have no idea who he is.
When I look at Ohtani, he is big time. Babe Ruth, 33 home runs, batting .279, got a 4-on-1 record with a .379 ERA as a pitcher. This brother is special. Make no mistake about it. But the fact that you got a foreign player that doesn't speak English, that needs an interpreter, believe it or not, I think contributes to harming the game to some degree when that's your box office appeal. It needs to be somebody like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, those guys. And unfortunately, at this moment in time, that's not the case.
Of course, he's been called a xenophobe. He's come out and apologized. I don't think he needed to apologize. I think he's been absolutely correct. This has nothing to do with the skills of the player. This has nothing to do with that. This has nothing to do with whether or not Tony is a nice human being or his race. This has all to do with the fact that, baseball doesn't market well. Mike Trout, like Bryce Harper, for those of you who don't know, he wants to be that guy, right? He wants to be the guy that is out there, right? And he's got the Nikes on and he's all over the place. He wants to be. Baseball, they don't wear helmets outside of batting. There's no face guards in baseball. There is in football. Everybody, even if they don't watch football, knows who Tom Brady is. They know who Aaron Rodgers is. They know who Gronk is. They know. They know who the biggest stars in the NFL are. They know who Patrick Mahomes is. Baseball doesn't have that. How do they do that? Well, part of it is the fact that they've marketed themselves in such a way. It's amazing the way they've done it. They dominate a day of the week. In that movie they talked about, they own a day of the week. Now they own several days of the week. They own off-season. They own just about everything when it comes to sports in this country. Baseball doesn't. And having your biggest star not speak the language, which, by the way, he does, someone doesn't feel comfortable with it. Okay. But I don't think he said anything wrong. And he never said anything. And again, he apologized. He never said anything to the point where he was disparaging the greatness that is this guy. Keith Olbermann, though, of the insanity, former MSNBC. I think he was on Air America. He's been all over the place, right? He is the progressive version of a flamethrower.
Anti-Asian violence rose last year by nearly 150% in this country and has risen another 164% this year. And in that context, it is simply not acceptable for a leading commentator on the leading national sports network to announce that a Japanese player cannot be the face of baseball because he uses an interpreter. And
by the way, just to let you know, that leading sports company, ESPN, is somewhere that paid your bills for a very, very long time, Keith.
And for the network to then say nothing about the remarks nor do anything about the man who made them. The fact that you've got a foreign player that doesn't speak English, that needs an interpreter, believe it or not, I think contributes to harming the game to some degree when that's your box office appeal.
Yeah, because it's about that. Who watches baseball? Out of curiosity. Who watches baseball? Not many people. You have an aging and dying audience. Basketball's crushing it comparatively to baseball. Right? Football, still the king. And just to let you guys know, soccer and the numbers for soccer, even in the Euro Cup, where some of their numbers were half the size of the audience of the NBA Finals, let's keep in mind that some of those games are played at 7 in the morning and not in prime time, is blowing past baseball. You seen some of the stadiums out here? The Arizona Diamondbacks are awful. Nobody wants to watch the Diamondbacks play. Oh, don't worry. There's still only 110 games left. By the way, there was 5,000 fans at a game the other night. While the Diamondbacks were playing just up the street, the NBA championships were going on, there were gobs of fans. And it would have been that way even if they weren't in the NBA Finals and it was just a regular game, because baseball is a game that is losing out. Right now, yesterday, they made an announcement. What did they make an announcement about, Chad? That they're going to put tons of money into the urban side of it to try to get more and more kids to play baseball, in particular, kids of color. Here's the thing. They don't want to play baseball. They want to play football. They want to play basketball. They don't want to play baseball. People in Asia, they love baseball. They play baseball. People in the Dominican Republic, they play baseball. Cuba, they play baseball. They love it. That's their jam. That's their thing. That's their pastime. We've gotten rid of that pastime. Keith Olbermann continues because he's got another pastime.
Stephen A. Smith went on to say that the face of baseball can't be Shohei Ohtani, the Japanese pitching and hitting star of the Angels. It needs to be, Smith said, somebody like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, those guys. This that Ohtani is somehow not American enough for baseball is exactly what baseball people used to say about Roberto Clemente, and before him, Jackie Robinson.
Okay, we've moved on since then. And Roberto Clemente was loved, as is Jackie Robinson today. And let's not forget that Jackie Robinson also spoke English. It's about marketing the game. It's not about the color of the skin. It's about marketing the game.
In any context, this is racism. In the America of 2021, however, racism in all directions has been weaponized by Trump and his cult, most recently against Asians, with the excuse for hatred being that COVID-19 originated in China, as if that had anything to do with people of Asian descent anywhere.
Actually, it had to do with the fact that you can't talk about the fact that it did originate in China, and there were real questions about it. And New York Times and people like you, Keith Olbermann, told everybody you're a conspiracy theorist and not to even ask the question until magically Trump lost. And the new guy came in. Other people had real questions, and all of a sudden it was okay to ask that question about where did it originate from. You clown. The obsession. It's like, so this is Trump's fault now? That Stephen A. Smith, a black man in America who's making $14 million a year, talking about a baseball player that's come here from Japan in a struggling world of trying to get your product noticed by anybody under the age of 90, maybe isn't the right person. By the way, Mike Trout's not the right person. He's the best player in baseball. He may be the best player of all time by the time he's finished. And if he walked in here right now, I think I would recognize him. I think. But no, unless he's wearing his uniform, might be a struggle. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Check us out across all social media platforms. It's Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Because obviously I'm not a doctor. One thing I've always thought, but when I've always thought about vaccines, and I always think about just nature and the way everything works. And I feel like a vaccination in a weird way is just generally kind of going against nature. Like, I mean, if there is some disease out there, maybe there's just an ebb and flow to life where something's supposed to wipe out a certain amount of people, and that's just kind of the way evolution goes. Vaccines kind of stand in the way of that.
I see. It's Newsmax host right there. Vaccines stop that. Did you guys know about that? Wow. Like, that's supposed to happen. It's supposed to wipe out a certain amount of people. He said that out loud. Only the strong should survive. Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent. I think that's life in anything. But every once in a while, the strong don't survive, and the people that you would think are weaker do survive. Do vaccines play a role? Of course. Of course they do. Of course they do. But who would say something like that, you clown? Guess what? Seatbelts. And I was very interested in the seatbelts and the natural selection of things that they get in the way of the natural selection of people smashing their faces off the steering wheel or going through the windshield. I've often wondered if we need seatbelts, and maybe that should just happen as a natural order of things.
Again, it's like if you've got this big risk, I think it might be worth whatever it is. But if you don't have a risk, I can't comprehend why you would take something. They start learning about the heart inflammation and stuff like that. I just don't understand why it's being pushed so hard on people that are very young, and now they're trying to give it to kids. You saw today, the CDC saying that going back to school in the fall, it looks like if your kid's not vaccinated, they're going to have to wear a mask next year.
Yeah, and that'll be dealt with in each area. And kids aren't getting sick from this. They may get a little cold-like symptoms, but most of them are asymptomatic. And so, yeah, I don't buy into a lot of that crap they've tried to do with the kids here. But that whole thought process of saying that is just ridiculous. That guy's stupid. That's just me. I think that's a stupid, asinine thing to say. You could say that about anything, right? But for whatever reason, I'm amazed. And people are like, yeah, vaccines. Like, all of us want to think our immune system could we can withstand anything. Yes, we can. You would like to think. The reality is no. It's like, no, you can't. But the beauty of us and our evolving is the fact that we can overcome some of these things. And some things that we do need to have exposure to, which does help us build an immune system. But that's just spectacular right there. Can't go back to the seatbelt. Why do we need seatbelts? Why do we need helmets? Damn gravity. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Solid fun show as always, kids. Follow along across all social media. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, wherever else out there. Skywriting. Follow along. You guys have a blessed, wonderful day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Go get yourself a taco. Night-night, Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.